Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Real Football Talk. I have Adil with me. Adil, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Great game just finished. I'm good, thank you. Great game just finished, isn't it? 2-2.
Yeah, yeah, excellent game, end to end.
Yeah. Let's get straight into it. I mean, what a result for Tottenham. 2 against Liverpool, considering where they were a couple of weeks back before Conte came in. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it can be. I kind of agree with Conte that they should be disappointed. They were the better team, especially in the second half. First half was end to end, but when you look at the chances Tottenham created, I mean, they created.
They had clear-cut chances, Tottenham. That's.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll come to it in a bit, but it's a bit of a strange one because they clearly got the setup right, they got the tactics right, and they were the better team definitely in the second half. Liverpool took the lead in the second half against the round of play, I felt. First half was a bit end to end, so you don't mind, but then to counter that, you have to say the decisions went Tottenham's way.
But I mean, it could have easily been like 3-1 to Spurs. I mean, because they had Ali's one was just great save, but it should.
Well, that's the thing I don't get is I think like Ali and players like Dele Alli and Sterling and the whole nation just loves them a bit too much because at the end of the day, there's way too much bias and favoritism with them. I don't understand why everyone's going on like, oh, Dele Alli's back and what an amazing game he had. No, he did his job, and if anything, it's a bit harsh, but when you look at it, he messed up on every key pass or shot in the game. And in a way, he was the difference. The difference was he messed up. Every critical point, he messed up. The pass to Harry Kane, that's an open goal, Sweaty.
Yeah, straight pass. Yeah.
He kicks it off his heel behind, the shot. The whole goal is gaping, and he goes to the side where the keeper standing. And there's other things. I mean, don't get me wrong, he played well, but when it comes to the clinical parts, the final ball, the final pass, the final shot, he was always wanting, even the one where he dived. He felt, he dived. A real good player finishes that off. As hard as it is, they chest it down and they finish it. So I just don't get the hype.
I get it. I understand why. Obviously, maybe they're hyping a bit too much, but he hasn't been playing for a while, so maybe that confidence and belief ain't there. You know how long it sometimes takes for players to.
Well, I'm not knocking Dele Alli as a player, but call it how you see it. Call it how the game actually goes, which is he played well, but he messed up on all the key moments. Yeah, which is probably down to his lack of game time. I have no problem with that. He's a good player. He was lighting it up 3-4 years ago. But today, he was a huge difference maker. He's Liverpool's man of the match, as far as I'm concerned. You take those 3 incidents, they're all clear-cut.
Key moments.
Like, I can't think of many players who are considered top level messing those 3 chances up. The pass, the shot, and when he was clean through and he kind of just...
Did Redknapp call him world class or something?
Probably. I mean, they're just going on about it. Redknapp, Defoe, the whole lot of them. Jamie Carragher, they're all going on about. But he's a good player. So I'm not saying he didn't play well. I mean, the energy, he competed, he put himself about. It was old school Dele Alli, which is nice to see. But
he's making a lot of those runs that he used to make before.
But I think the system allowed him, and we'll go into that in a bit. But I still feel like the the over praising the result, over praising the like he wasn't that he was at the end of the day when the ball came to him in the box, he flopped 3 times.
Yeah,
and it was harder to flop, in each one. It's not like, it's a good save from Alisson, but that shot, that finish was an easy finish. And he had so much time.
yeah,
At the whole one side of the goal. He goes to the side of the keeper. It's still a good save. And it was a good shot. Let's not knock it. It's a good shot. It's going in.
yeah.
But when you see the amount of time he had and where the position, you would say a good player finishes that. They just bury that.
Yeah,
That was not a hard finish. And then the second one, the square pass to Kane, I don't think you can get a more easier pass. He ran ahead of the ball and then healed it.
But Adi, do you think Liverpool will feel hard done because obviously they had Robertson getting sent off, but obviously Klopp clearly claiming that Kane should have been sent off in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, the whole argument, and again, we always go on about VAR and our frustrations with it. I think forget about talking about independent regulator for football. Please, let's do the first thing, which is easy. Get independent regulator for VAR. Nowhere in the world do you have, the body, assessing their own members, which is effective. Why is a referee checking whether another one of his referee mates got the result correct call? I think they are allowing for too much subjectivity. When you look at it, you can now start questioning whether VAR is being used to determine results. Are certain teams getting favoritized? Is there more bias going on and people aren't questioning it because it goes up to VAR? Because at the end of the day, how can anyone say Robertson's tackle was more forceful and more aggressive than Kane's?
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah,
I mean, the ball
were.
The ball for Kane's one, the ball was
one player was standing and the other one.
No, but that's my point, Adu. The ball was going away from Kane, so he's lunging into that studs high. So that's
I mean, it's not like he didn't make contact, even though Robertson, he still made contact with Robertson.
Yeah, but
and his studs made contact with his.
The point they're making is that they're saying, because Robertson jumped over him, that's what.
No, that's not what the PGMO.
But that shouldn't be the problem.
Well, the PGMO is saying there's a difference in the intensity and speed of the tackle at the point of contact. They actually have given that excuse why one was a red card and the other was a. Now, anyone who watches that, the intensity and the speed of the tackle of Kane's is actually far greater than Robertson's.
I mean, he's got his whole body behind it. Come on.
Yeah, and one person is standing. It's pretty hard to break someone's leg standing, but it's damn well easy when you go with a 2-footed lunge. And look how far, you're talking about intensity and speed. Look how far Kane slides. And he slides another, 6-7 yards away from where the original tackle got made. That's how forceful he was. Yeah. So, and, the whole penalty thing and claiming that, Jota stopped and made contact. It don't matter if he stopped. That's the whole point. He's got the ball. He has the choice to either run or stop. There is no rule in football that says you must be running. So I don't understand this whole idea that he stopped. He stopped because next man was going in reckless.
Yeah.
And he took him out cold. Took him clean out. I mean, what is the point of VAR if they're going to continue to just back their referees?
But this is what I mean. I think we said it far too many times that they're just there to back their mates and nothing else really. There isn't any real.
And the thing is, everyone says, you get frustrated with the inconsistency of the decision making. Actually, there is no inconsistent decision making. It's consistent. Whatever the on-field referee, their mate
Mostly, yeah.
decides, they're gonna back them.
99% of the times, yeah.
And that's the thing. It's consistent in its biasness towards its own members.
Yeah, 100%.
Hence why it needs an independent regulator.
I mean, Liverpool will feel, and Klopp, you can see he feels hard done by it. I mean, and it did change the obviously course of the game completely.
Well, obviously, those big decisions were against them. The fact that the thing is, on the Robertson one, I think it's a bit harsh in the sense that the referee gave it a yellow card, so he's been consistent in the way he sees the game.
Yeah,
and even you could complain. They could complain about the penalty for Jota, but then similar thing happened when I think the navigator one of the players went into Winks, who was on the edge.
Yeah, on the edge of the box.
And that was another kind of push, not as aggressive.
Yeah.
But so as far as I'm concerned, this is kind of even themselves out. It would have even itself out if VAR didn't get involved and say, have a look at the Robertson one.
Yeah.
You know how I just can't understand how you're going to
recommend. Why didn't VAR? Because I mean, clearly they didn't think it was a red card. Send the referee over to that one.
I tell you why. Because no one came over and shoved Robertson and made a big deal, and there was no Liverpool fans to make a big hoo-ha and a big noise. So this is the thing. It's got nothing to do with rules. It's got nothing to do with consistency. What it's got to do is making the right choices for the fans, for the viewers. That's and protecting their mates. That's what it comes down to. It's a lottery now, yeah, and it's just ridiculous. You know, if Sanchez never came and pushed Robertson over, they probably wouldn't have looked at that. Just like they barely looked at the Kane situation, because
those tackles, we see so many of them in the Premier League, and usually it's just booked because of kicking out. It's not really a sending off.
Well, I think that it was extra reckless.
No. I mean, we've seen loads of them given where it's just been given a yellow card and then told to play on with.
Yeah, we have this season, that's why this whole argument has been created by VAR, the person in VAR, because at the end of the day, if you look at the two penalty decisions, all right, Jota's one is clear cut.
More clear cut.
The only difference you can say is probably the Liverpool ones were more clear cut. The Kane foul was more clear cut. It's the Roberts one. You see them sometimes get not recommend a red, but I do agree it was too reckless. And yeah, and the Winks one sometimes it's a bit soft, but you do get those penalties. It was.
I mean, Harry Kane got one last year.
But obviously this year, this year they're doing things a lot more. There has to be more clear cut touch, but there was a clear cut touch.
Yeah,
but it would have been soft. So I just think you can't blame the ref on the field too much today, because he actually was consistent in he let the game flow. He let tackles fly in.
Yeah.
He gave yellow cards more than anything more. So and I thought generally he did treat both teams fairly. It wasn't like, so it's more VAR instead of clearing up situations,
it's creating issues.
It's creating issues. So and it's creating it in a biased way. If some teams are getting favorable decisions than others, I still go back to it. That decision of claiming it's a clear-cut handball for last midweek, whenever it was, where Man City got a penalty. That's a huge decision in potentially the outcome of the title race. Because one result it's all about momentum. One result changes a lot of things. If that ends up being a draw, you don't know, Man City might drop points later on because they're feeling the pressure more. So I just think Yeah, VAR is meant to make it a lot more consistent, and it's not. I'm starting to question the whether whether there are certain clubs getting favoured or not. You know, maybe they're sending some presents and gifts to the referees, and
there's so many chefs and stuff out nowadays, so I'm sure they can source a way. Adi, but in terms of tactically, I wanted to kind of look into both teams and how Tottenham set up, because I mean they were causing Liverpool all sort of problems, especially in the counter.
yes, I think the main thing to notice is what Conte did was previously he's been playing like a 3-4-3.
Yeah,
with the wing backs a bit more further up and having Moura. Today they were a bit more matching up with the midfield of Liverpool. And the thing is, we'll never really know whether that tactic was going to work properly because of the fact that obviously you can see from the lineup, Milner, Morton, and Keita.
yeah.
Two of them are just coming back from injury. The other one is I think, second start or something, or first start in the Premier League. Is a big game.
It's his first, it's his first start in the Premier League.
So, it's a bit. So you can't really say whether the tattoo but in this game with that lineup, Spurs dominate the midfield battle. For me, Harry Winks got on the ball and was picking things up more than the Liverpool midfielders. Now, what was the key thing was I felt especially in the first half was how much Dele Alli was pushing forward and becoming that third striker. So what they've asked him to do is do double job, basically.
Okay.
So he was given the license to bomb forward every single time, and how and what that did was how they managed to control Liverpool a lot was by pushing Sessegnon and Emerson so much, more so Emerson. And they really targeted this gap between Alexander-Arnold and Kanote. So if you look at every chance that came, it was because he's going in there or he's going there. And so they're mixing it. They're sometimes playing Sanchez or Dyer is playing the ball over the top straight into Sessegnon. In the first half, they did that successfully quite a few times, but the end product wasn't there. Kane was free. So if they did play those, if Sessegnon was better, or if it was regular in doing that, that cross would have come in, Kane would have had easy goal. Couple of times, 2 or 3 times that move worked, but Sessegnon just never had the quality at the end. So they're doing that. And then you got Dele Alli on the inside, or sometimes with Song. There's always someone inside of Trent, so they're confusing him. They're making it difficult for him. So they really targeted Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I mean, he has been there. I mean, one of the main creators for Liverpool, so you can tell why they're trying to pin him back, I guess. Yeah,
but the key thing with a lot of teams, what happens is because they want to do the high press, they end up not being able to pin Robertson and Trent Alexander, but are forced them to defend.
Yeah.
This game, even though, because the first half was basically end to end, Robertson and Trent Alexander was able to attack too, but there's not many teams that's forced them to defend as much. A lot of the attacks was going out wide. So
to Emerson,
what was happening was there was so many switching of the play, just from Davis or from whoever, just going straight into Emerson, straight into Sessegnon. So that's keeping Trent Alexander on the back. He's having to defend. He's having to think. Robertson is having to defend. But what Robertson was doing good was he was staying very narrow. So the runs that Song was making, he was able to defend them.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's where the goal comes from. Because if you think about what happens is for the goal is Song occupies the center and Kane comes there, and it's Ndombele.
And Ndombele plays the ball, yeah.
Yeah, but what happens is at that moment, it's Dele Alli's just starting to make that run again. So it's keeping them all honest, but it's because they have
The extra
those
man.
fullbacks there. It's giving them question marks that Robertson doesn't know, and it looked like, you know, and the way done it looked like he's going to play it to Emerson. So Robertson's kind of slightly more gambled on that, and that's it. Kane's got the goal. So
Ade,
it's very brave from Tottenham.
Quick one. I mean, that's what I was going to say. Considering they left 3-on-3 against probably the best 3 attackers in the Premier League.
Yeah, but the thing was they couldn't get the ball because what was it? They might be the best 3, but they're not the best 3 when it comes to long ball.
Yeah. Okay.
So there wasn't enough for them. There wasn't enough for them to get involved, get into the game, and so
that midfield link wasn't there, was it? That midfield link wasn't there.
Yeah.
That was the main thing.
And what they did better in the second half, what they slightly changed at Spurs was they actually pushed Ali into that. So they went back to kind of the 3 up top.
Yeah.
And kind of went to Ali playing there more, more like a 10 there. So then suddenly that's keeping everyone honest. So yeah, and maybe, you know, it's because of the, you know, personnel, it worked. We won't ever know, but I just felt like, yeah, definitely it's brave tactics, and they won. Yeah, one of the first teams I've seen managed to pin
Liverpool. Yeah, Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, great. The other thing comes to mind for me is, and it's kind of bothering me, is because don't some of these teams kind of have a far superior advantage? Because you look at someone like Tottenham, they have an extra 2 weeks of 1 rest, 2 tactical work with Conte. Even though they're saying some of the players, we don't know how many players had COVID, how many of them were first teamers. So you got Liverpool on the other. You got Liverpool on the other side who haven't played, who's been playing every single week.
You look at who they named on their bench at such a critical time, when some of those teams have played 3 or 4 games like Liverpool, and Tottenham haven't played anyone. It's not only that Tottenham are fresh; they had their full squad there. They had Bergwijn on the bench. Had, you know, the changes they made was tactical, and Sessegnon played very well.
Yeah, they brought
I could see why
on.
He got there ahead of Reguilon. You know, they had everyone there.
So
on the bench. So,
but this is my question.
So on top of the advantage of having 2 weeks off, and that's maybe another factor into why Tottenham actually dominated the second half and were the stronger team, is because they're more fresh. And I do agree. I do think this is starting to determine the outcome of maybe not the way the title race is going, because, you know, City are playing. But the thing is, they're not exactly playing teams that are fresh or missed games. They're playing teams that have all having to play. Newcastle haven't had to play. They've not had no extra rest.
Yeah.
So with City, it doesn't really count because they have extra time. They have a bigger squad. Not extra time. They have the same amount of time, but they have bigger squad. So, and they're rotating 6-7 players every game, and they got 2 world-class players for every position. So
yeah.
You know, City, this is the point where they, you know, caught up and overtook and got into the lead last season. That's because they can rotate.
But Adi, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, obviously, City, they've got that ability. But I'm saying, if you look at it from a Liverpool perspective, or any of the other teams that are playing consistently from them, and you look at some of these teams who are getting 2-3 weeks breaks, where they're regrouping, getting the injured players back, and not playing, it's going to help them massively over the teams that have played over this Christmas period. We're playing every 3-4 days.
Well, that
when
showed
you play against those teams, I mean, how are you going to compete?
I think that showed today. At the end of the day, there's no Van Dijk, no Fabinho, no Henderson,
no Thiago,
You know, they're their key players. You know, well, you know, every first teamer is a key player, but that's when you use a whole unit, and there ain't a team that makes their midfield work harder than Liverpool. Klopp's system, the engine of the whole team is that midfield. And
Yeah.
Morton, that first half, non-existent. I actually can't remember him ever getting on the ball or even touching the ball.
It's a big occasion for him, right?
Milner was trying his best. Keita was okay. But, the guy's coming back from injury. So I do think this policy is making it unfair. If it's one game getting called off in the game week or one or two, that's fair enough. But as soon as it becomes more than that, as soon as it becomes during what you call the third and fourth games of a packed schedule, it's the Christmas period. I think to keep the integrity of the competition, they should just call all the games off, because there is no way you can tell me for the next few weeks Tottenham are at an advantage now.
Yeah.
Every player is fresh, and you saw it. Kane looked fitter than he normally does.
Yeah.
Dele Alli was bombing forward the whole game, even though he was tired at the end for his first game back. He normally wouldn't be able to put that much energy.
I mean, he'd be done at 60 minutes.
Yeah, so I just think, it is affecting it. It's unfair. I commend the teams like, Liverpool and City who have played through it, even Arsenal. But it does feel like it's unfair.
But do you know what my biggest problem is? Is there's no clarity. The Premier League's not coming out and saying you must have this many from the registered group of players that have got COVID, and therefore you can postpone the game. There is no clarity. You don't need to name the players that've got COVID. You can keep that disclosure, but you can say they got 7 first-team players. The rule is if you got 13 players, you play. If you haven't got 13 players, then we postpone. That's all we want.
I don't get what this whole data protection thing is. I think it's a load of rubbish. Guess what? Every single time when a player is injured, guess what? Is in that data protection? Oh, this player's out. Yeah. This person's got a hamstring injury. This person got groin injury. Oh, suddenly he's got COVID. It's top secret. Come on. What kind of, they just making things out. You got half the managers naming, Klopp saying clear cut, Fabinho's got COVID. This person's got COVID. You got half the, and then you got others going on like a top secret. You're violating someone's right.
I mean, and you know that the thing is that we're going to come onto that game. Like Leeds, if you look at Leeds, right, they're playing on bare bones.
Yeah, and the thing is, and that's the thing. And reading between the lines, there are some clubs that are utilizing the system to their advantage better than others. And so what's happened is a lot of guys who have a few players COVID and a lot of players injured and reporting it like that haven't had their games called off. But other clubs are being a bit more smarter in saying all these players are unavailable due to COVID. Yeah, so I just think, and the other thing is that some clubs, because the rule is apparently, that's why they allowed the under-23 squad to be registered for the Premier League this year. So the whole point is you're meant to play under-23 players. But some clubs just straight up where pretty much the whole under-23 squad is also decimated with COVID.
Would they not need to show evidence for that? That's my point. I mean, if they're saying that,
it's monitored by the clubs. I mean,
yeah, but
what are you going to show them?
The COVID test result that they isolated.
Yeah, well, you can just change the name on each one, isn't it? It's not hard. So you got people, sports players in America and everywhere, faking COVID passports, faking COVID certificates. No, it's not. It's just a paper. It's a piece of paper, unless it's done by the clubs. So like I said, reading between the lines, looking at all the complaints, clearly some clubs have used it to their advantage, and the ones who have been honest have kind of suffered. And you can imagine Leeds and Bielsa and the way they operate, they're probably being a bit too naive and honest to the point where they're playing, complete makeshift back line, and
Yeah.
it's slightly unfair. And even
Before,
I think the most ridiculous one out of all of them, and you have to commend them, but it also might suit Benitez. It was the lineup Benitez had to play. They had to play like 4 or 5. Sims, never heard of him. A couple of other guys they brought on. Braithwaite, who ended up scoring, having to start a game. They're all kids. They're not even on the bench half the time, and they all had to play.
I mean, Chelsea tried getting their match postponed a couple of hours before. Their ones got rejected.
But again, that's because the number of COVID related absentees is only factored, and they're not factoring in the injuries. But at the end of the day, the injuries plus the COVID means that's a lot of players.
Yeah.
So, I mean, their one is a bit harder to feel sympathy for when you look at the lineup they've had
and the amount of people still in the bench.
Yeah, but clearly it is affecting the competition now, because some clubs are a lot more fresher than others at such a critical moment.
And so it gives them a massive boost going into the next period, because I mean, in the middle of the season you had 2 weeks off, pretty much 3 weeks off.
Yeah, definitely.
And whilst the other teams got leggy because they've been playing through it.
Yeah.
Let's look into next game. Adil, Arsenal 4-1 away win at Leeds. What did you make of them? I mean, that first 15, 20 minutes it just looked like.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like that Wolves game, isn't it? But apart from this time, we got some goals.
I was really hugely impressed with Arsenal against West Ham in the physicality that they played with, and I didn't think they'd be able to match it. But they're really becoming bullies. I mean, they're really putting themselves about. So not only are they doing gamesmanship like Atletico Madrid, they're also now playing physically like Atletico Madrid, where they really get stuck in. They really put their tackles in. They really, harass you, push you, and they kind of done what Leeds do to a lot of teams. Arsenal did it in that first 15 minutes. They really bust and bullied Leeds into loads of mistakes. And you can tell the errors that Leeds are making. They're all kind of losing the ball in your own half, giving the ball away in your box. All 3 goals in the first half. That lineup played a part in that, because everyone's playing out of position. You got a backline that, doesn't really know what he's doing. You got a player coming back from, 2-3 months out, straight into the lineup in coach. You can tell it's just not a settled back four. But Arsenal did what they had to do, which was capitalize on it by bullying them. And they were really physical. They started off on fire, and they made the goals through mistakes. And which is what this Arsenal team is about. A lot of it is about being structured, being solid, the off the ball work, and getting goals through errors.
Do you think also kind of the role of Lacazette? I mean, he done brilliantly. The way he kind of utilized, or it was probably tactical from Arteta.
I think that's what's the biggest change.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest change is this the fact that Lacazette's come into the team in place of Aubameyang. So the thing with Aubameyang is he's occupying the spots. He's occupying the centre backs are trying to play.
For the running behind.
Is playing full like a attacking mid. He's mixing it with the midfielders. He's playing really physical. The way he's playing, Sean Dyche would be happy with him at Burnley. That's how physical play. He's really tussling and being a focal point. But the best thing is his quality in playing the ball first time accurately, or taking a touch, turning his man and playing. And he is feeding. And what you see here is the way Odegaard is kind of what they're doing is they get Odegaard into these positions. So then what happens is teams don't know who should be picking him up. and then they use that indecision and that overload. So they're overloading a lot on Saka's side.
Yeah.
And then what happens is
Everyone's
the whole
going
team
across.
moves across, and that's allowing for the space for Martinelli to come in. And we've seen a couple of identical goals where he's attacking that space. But that's because so much of the play is happening down the side, because Odegaard is just occupying these zones and, you know, getting into Lacazette or Saka. And, you know, them three are just doing triangles and then suddenly releasing that
Killer ball.
run from. And it's not always Martinelli. I mean, sometimes it's Tierney on the overlap. You know, sometimes it's Martinelli's here. And when you see the fullback tucking in, then it's Tierney going on. So they are definitely, you know, they're basically left fullback is more attacking than the right. Tomoyasu is kind of sticking and securing. But they are using attacking on this side to release the left-hand side of the pitch, and you know, I mean, look at all the chances coming from this area of the pitch, but it's being created over here.
This all looks like it's from the training ground, because I mean, I've seen loads of drills they do where they try passing it out from like Ben White to the right back and into Partey or Lacazette or the number 10, and then spinning off to create the space on the other side.
Yeah, I mean the key is, and I think that's what's made the difference, is Lacazette is really strong. His base, he's you know, if he's not setting Saka away or getting Martinelli and Tierney involved, he's winning a foul, because you're literally having to foul him to get the ball off him.
Yeah.
Because he's tossing, he's wrapped his arms around. He's really good at wrapping his arms around you and winning free kicks too.
And so, that, you know, that turn he's got a really good turn, because when he pins you in, he's got that spin off. It's really good.
And then obviously the extra speed of Martinelli is making a difference. Like with Smith Rowe, he'd want to get involved more.
Yeah,
he's not looking to play on the last line. Do you get it? He wants to dribble more. With Martinelli, he's just constantly making runs, and that's allowing Tierney to sometimes even come on the inside, or what Tierney does is come onto the edge and he's getting these shots and crosses back into the box. So, yeah, they're really tactically playing very well, overloading the pitch. And, yeah, you know, I just think personnel-wise, Lacazette, because he's playing a complete false nine, fits this system. And that's now allowing Saka and Martinelli to play a lot more attacking, and Odegaard just to kind of overload Saka's side and kind of dominate.
You know, from what you're showing, it seems like Odegaard's being used more of like a nuisance player than an actual.
Well, he's like a chess piece, isn't he? He's a chess piece. He's a link player. He's a link player. He's a link player between Lacazette and Saka. But he's also shifting the midfield to one side of the pitch. And so what that's doing is that's leaving your real, you know, speed impact players to cut in on the other side and make darting runs into the ball or on the outside and cross the ball in. So, but again, we have to say the goal of the wins are based around the work of the ball, the hard work they're doing, and you have to give them credit for that. And the other thing is, you know, for now, we don't know for how long, they're not stopped playing after 1-0.
Yeah.
They did that in the second half, but you're 3-0. So if there is any time where you're going to sit off and play counter-attacking, it is when you're 3-0 up. So there's not, and you know, to be fair, Leeds had a real go. And you know, really put Arsenal under pressure, but you can tell Arsenal was sitting off. So that's the right time to do it. Not 1-0, which is what they were doing.
100%. But with regards to Arsenal, and I was going to say Smith Rowe coming off 2 times off the bench, getting a goal, seems like we found a super sub.
I think the situation of the games allows that, because he's a bundle of energy at the end of the day. So the last thing you want is an energetic player who's kind of moving around anyway, given a free road. So he's kind of darting off anywhere he wants, and tired legs. And as we said, you know, certain teams who don't have the squad, who have been, you know, really severely impacted by injuries more than COVID, are now really suffering. Like Leeds, their problem is, you know, they've got a lot of players out through injury, but now having 3 or 4 players out with COVID as well has taken them way over the top. You know, where it's kind of you know, they're really disadvantaged. And Smith Rowe is the last thing you want to see coming on. You know, he's just going to run all day, run at you, he's going to keep running behind, you know, turning you. It's just energy in it. So I think those, we can only see when it's a bit more even now. But right now, yeah, definitely he's a super sub.
Next, let's look at Man City, 4-0 comfortable win against Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle is a team that's like, I watched them. Who were they against when they got humiliated? And even the last game, what was it, a draw?
I think it was a draw,
or something. Yeah, I mean, their defending is beyond a joke. You got so many guys running backwards, running towards it, and they're so timid in their tackling. It's like they're on they're playing on an ice skating rink. They're that's scared to really put a foot in and really tackle and get close. I've never seen a back four as scared to go tight to strikers. I mean, as soon as they let every ball get played in, and then they just drop off into the box.
Is this the Eddie Howe problem, or is this just the Newcastle problem that they've been having?
Well, the thing is, everyone knows Eddie Howe struggled to set up Bournemouth defensively, and he struggled to make tough decisions. I.e., he doesn't rotate his team much. You know, he's loyal to certain players. Now, his first game, I think Kieran Clark got set off after a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I've seen this game ridiculous. What he did for the first goal, for, you know, Ruben Diaz's first goal, it's ridiculous. But the thing is, he done the exact same mistake a game before that. And unfortunately, I'm starting to see that maybe Eddie Howe is stuck in his ways. And, you know, Kieran Clark is not ahead of Fabian Schär.
Definitely. No, definitely not.
Yeah. The guy's costing you goals. He's got sent off. He's costed you goals. He's made errors where he's done the exact same where he ducks underneath the header that is his. You know, how are you playing in the Premier League, and how have you got experience in the Premier League and ducking under a clear header that is yours because you're expecting the keeper to come out? What for? Unless he's called it, header the ball. And to do that in the first 5 minutes or so, I don't know when, Man City, right at the beginning of the game.
Right at the beginning, yeah, around 5 minutes.
That's a joke, and that's the second time he's done it where he's done something, or third time where he's cost the team the first goal right at the beginning of the game.
I mean, that throws all the game plan, everything out the window, isn't it, straight away?
Yeah, so, I think it could be a problem of personnel. They're just terrible at defending. Even Lascelles, you know, I think the moment when he actually started to, it got a bit feisty because the Newcastle fans started to feel like the Man City players were calling for too much and falling on the full ground too easily. And what happened was, and the referee was giving them a few decisions. Good, then I had to win these fouls regularly.
Yeah.
So and they're playing for it. They're looking for it. So they are fouls. You know, they're technically better team. So then the crowd started to get on the referee's back, onto Man City players' back, and Lascelles started to get tight and really physical, and he done really good defending. And guess what? The whole crowd was cheering every tackle. Why? Because this Liverpool defense doesn't want to do any tackling.
Newcastle, yeah.
You're seeing the same thing even this game. Last game we said it's harsh on Joe Linton because he's one of the few players willing to put a tackle in and put his body on the line, but he's a striker playing as a right winger.
Yeah.
So he's going to make mistakes. But why is he doing in that centre mid position? It's because you've got Shelby and them, all of them are hiding. They don't want to really put tackle in.
I mean, are they in trouble? Because, I mean, they've
And
played
Hayden is one frustrating player. You know, Hayden. Because the thing is, when you see he does a dirty foul every game to get a yellow card.
Yeah, 100.
But Hayden doesn't put himself about for the rest of the game. It's like you'll always see one crunching tackle from him, and that's it, when he gets a yellow card. But the rest of the game, you don't see him get close to anyone. You just see him covering lines, you know, and you just think, you got to get physical to them. You know, this is Man City. You got to get tight. You got to harass them. You can't. So, yeah.
But do you think they're going to struggle? Because obviously 18 games, almost halfway through, 10 points still.
I think the thing is, I wouldn't rule them out. One, obviously, they got pulling power in January. Can Eddie Howe attract big players or good players? I'm not sure.
Well, that's the big question.
Like, I don't know why anyone would get convinced to play for Eddie Howe. I mean, I don't know a player.
No, I mean, what was the reason?
He's had some really good youngsters like Lewis Cook. Absolutely rated him as a youngster when he was at Bournemouth. Never brought him to, never made him into a England international. You know, for the under-21s, he was amazing. I think he was the captain of the team that won the cup.
Yeah.
The under youth World Cup or whatever. So you just think, you know, he's had loads of good, amazing young talented players. You know, then you got Ibe, you got Stanislas, you got loads of players. They've never really excelled at it. Solanke couldn't even score a goal for him. So would a good young talent want to play for him? No, I don't see why they would. And I don't see why any big player would. So the only way they're going to get big signings is by paying ridiculous money, which isn't a recipe for long-term success, because when players come for money, they're not really motivated to do hard graft, to give, you know, the superstars already, and they're getting paid a lot. So they haven't got much to prove. So it's a tough gig, but you can't rule them out because of the fact they got St. Maximan and Wilson. They still got two quality players that are probably better than anything Norwich has got, Burnley has got, Watford have got. So they do have those two players that I still think, if they get it right behind them, those two players can get them out just about. But it wouldn't be because they deserve to be in the Premier League. It'd be more because there's three teams that are worse than them at finishing or taking their chances.
Yeah. In terms of Man City, I mean, are they kind of creating that huge gap between the rest of the teams? It seems that they're starting to slowly kind of creep away. As Liverpool and
the thing
Chelsea.
is, Pep has been planning for this period, like he did last year. Last year, slow start, they hit their stride in December. Again, very similar to what Ferguson's United team used to do. It used to be all about peaking in December. And that's what City seem to do now. They peak in December, and he makes short-term sacrifices where they might draw, lose, or have a, you know, where he's rotating a bit earlier than normal. But he's doing that so everyone's fresh and fully fit for December. And now you're seeing the rewards of his long-term planning. So, yeah, it's more his squad depth and his planning and his good management of his players that, last December and this December, they seem to create a gap.
I mean, they are, what, 6 points away from Chelsea, 3 from Liverpool now.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be said, they haven't had big breakouts of COVID yet. Yeah. That may happen. So things may change. But I still don't think it's, you know, by all means, Man City have got the League One and have run away. I still think this year Liverpool are rotating the squad slightly more. Whether they will now that there's a bit of a gap, I think that's because last time that's where the problem was. That's where the difference was when Liverpool are chasing, he rotates less. He doesn't trust his squad players because every game means more. There's more pressure to win. So let's see. That'll be the interesting thing, whether he continues to rotate his squad. But he's prepared for December just as much, and let's see
Yeah, I mean, African Cup of Nation might be cancelled, so that might be a blessing in disguise. So
yeah, it would be
that'll be a
definitely would
massive
be
help for them, isn't it?
Yeah, because obviously be
Two of the
reported
best
that
players.
they were likely to lose out
The
more than any other
most
team.
if you look at it, out of all the other teams.
Yeah.
In terms of the other team we mentioned, Chelsea. I mean, another draw, 0-0, not clinical.
And
Same whole story.
I mean, that game was a real bore. I mean, first half it's just a terrible match. Wolves were probably slightly the better team, had a goal rightly ruled out. Jimenez was offside. But Chelsea played really bad in that first half. Second half, much better. Really took the game to Wolves, but they ain't got players that are clinical. What's cost them always is they don't get enough shots on target, and they don't think that in the whole game they'll go one shot on target. So tells you the story of the game really. But yeah, a boring game really. Not much to it. Both teams kind of cancel each other out until the second half. Chelsea started to get a bit of superiority, but they're struggling. There's no surprise Chelsea drew that game or dropped points, especially when you have the manager announcing that we tried to get the game called off.
Yeah.
When you're saying giving messages like that, then players aren't focusing on the match. Players are focusing on the fact that we shouldn't even be playing. And I think that's probably a reason why that first half.
But then my question is, why as Tuchel or the club leave it so late?
I think it's because they're all starting to realize there's, certain teams playing the system and getting preferential treatment. I really do think that. There's certain teams being asked, to play and other teams not.
Because I mean, Arsenal had to at the beginning of the season. They had injuries and COVID breakout. They had to play the first game of the season.
Yeah, but I think that's different because that's what every club has gone through. There's been every team has had a couple of players with COVID during the season. Now it's a slightly different situation because there's an outbreak of the new variant. So there's more than just the one or two players affected. So I do, and the thing is, the rules have now become stricter again. So it's back to 14 days or 10 days isolation, whichever one it is. So you're not got that player until the full 10 days. So I think it's a bit different now than at the start of the season.
One more thing, I mean, Chelsea, they got, I mean, the run of fixtures that they got coming up. I mean, they got Aston Villa away next, then Brighton at home, but then after that got Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham. I mean, it's crucial time, and they just seem like there's no momentum in the club.
No, but it only takes one result for them to get momentum. Other teams will drop points. I just don't see it like City and Liverpool will just run away with it. They will drop points. They will continue to drop points. There's too many good teams. There's too many teams that are on an upwards curve. There's too many teams that have got enough about them now. Then these teams aren't going to run away, or if they do run away with it, it'll be because other teams are dropping so many more points. But they will continue to drop points. I still think City will drop points. I still think Liverpool continue to drop points. Teams have to go to Conte's Spurs. That atmosphere in the stadium now under Conte,
it's going to be completely different.
It's a complete different game now. He's got the fans fired up. That place is like a fortress for them already. You can already feel it.
Do you think Spurs are in a real good place to finish fourth now? Because obviously,
so that's the thing. After watching today, what impressed me most about Spurs was their mentality. I mean, they were really physical. They're really, pressing and pushing, and tackling hard and in the faces of Liverpool. And you're used to seeing Liverpool do that to teams.
Yeah.
But they couldn't handle the intensity of Tottenham. Yeah, granted, Tottenham were fresh and Liverpool weren't. That might be a factor. But the mindset of Tottenham really impressed me. When they went 2-1 down, they went straight down the other end and for 3 minutes was creating close chances,
Yeah.
you know, wrong passing until the goal happened.
Howler,
So
but yeah.
doesn't matter. But that howler happened because they were under the
pressure.
pump kickoff. So what does that tell you? So there's a mentality shift in this Tottenham team, and obviously that's worried me because I think they kind of now looking at it and with this gap and with this extra time to work with his team, they look a much more organized, better team. I just got a feeling they've got top 4. I can't see.
They've played 15 games on 26 points. If they win their 3 games in hand, they will go to 35 points.
Come on, they with that back line, with Davis, Dyer, and Sanchez, all 3 have errors in them.
Yeah.
Managed to hold Liverpool, front 3, everyone's going on about. So
massive credit to them as hard as it is to play it.
But the point isn't that they held. It's the fact that they're actually playing well. Those 3 defenders are playing well. Davis is playing well. Dyer even is playing well. What a shock! Conte is turning him into a defender, proper defender. So they're all playing well. So I think Spurs have got a real good chance to get into that top 4.
It's really close. I think it's going to be about three points between the teams from 4th to about 7th. So it's going to be brilliant.
Like I said, it's hard to judge. It's hard to judge because of the freshness of Spurs. But if they play the way they did today, with that mindset, I think they'll get 4th.
Kane,
we don't know. Is it because of freshness?
Is Kane back?
Yeah, he played well today. He played well. He's got his goal, great goal. If it wasn't for Dele Alli, he might have had another easy tap in. But yeah, I do.
They're
only going to improve.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. I mean, great insight. And for those of you watching, please like, share, subscribe, and continue supporting us. Thank you.
Thank you.